So this YouTubers called the Borderline just basically ruined the life of a kid and also themselves because apparently they killed a 5-year-old who was overwhelmed by the car driven by the YouTubers, the Borderline, and the hypothesis of the challenge on the web ended in tragedy. And basically, it was like a challenge of like trying to stay inside a Lamborghini for 50 hours, which, by the way, they rented the Lamborghini. And apparently, they're going to delete their YouTube channel. Apparently, based off Social Blade, like, they've already deleted like 74 million views. But the thing is, they've already made basically their money from the YouTube channel. Like, if we go by like the views and also potentially sponsorships that they've had, we're talking that they cleared over $1 million, maybe multiple millions of dollars. So we're talking about like millionaire YouTubers that basically ended the life of a kid just because they were so addicted to getting clicks on their channel. And it's kind of like interesting because on the Reddit post about this, right, the borderlines involved in an accident in which a child died, with a child died perhaps during their challenge, blah blah blah. Let's see, it is a sick cycle. You do big views by making the money. You want to keep your popularity high. You do even more money, I guess. And sooner or later, the luck ends and life runs in your butt, whatever that is. So, too bad that the end of their luck has come to the detriment of the life of an innocent child. Cockheads. Who is the jerk who thought that driving an SUV for 50 hours in a row, even in a group, does not change since the fatigue is in any case would have been one good idea? By the way, this is like the grammar is kind of like off because this is translated to English. This is technically originally Italian. So the car rental owner who sees a plus 4.5k in the budget to rent the Urus for 50 hours at 1.5 thousand per day. You reminded me of my driving instructor. Driving tired only makes sense if you want eternal rest. Who has his hand on the handlebar fights against death. Nothing else can be done if you fight against death. Driving is like being at the front. The car is a potential grave. All roads can lead to Rebibia. S behind the wheel is a crime. If you get distracted at home, you are a clumsy. If you do it here, you are a murderer. When we are on the move, we are a danger for us and for others. And see, that's the thing, right? Like, it's one thing to do a challenge in a very controlled system or situation, right? Because basically, these YouTubers are Mrbeast clones, so they do very viral content and sometimes even just copying Mrbeast on his content, right? Like if you see on his videos or their videos, right? 24 hours something like maybe stuck in the middle of the ocean or something, something like a mini castle or something, I don't know. But it's basically all very big challenge videos that are basically duplicates of Mrbeast. And it's sad because the majority of their audience are young kids and they basically did a challenge where they truly did not think of any of the negative possibilities with it, right? Mrbeast has a massive budget and a massive team so that everything basically gets done as well as possible. Now there are some things that can still happen with Mrbeast's situation, but it's like these guys are like all young, all within like their low 20s, just like didn't care how they did it. And like just think about it. You're going to drive 50 hours in a Lamborghini SUV and you think that's a great idea. A car can easily be turned into a weapon very quickly, right? All it takes is a split second for you to be driving normally to then you literally crashing head on to another person and basically ending their life and potentially yours. So let's actually read through this article. So they were shooting a video, one of those like 50 hours in the car, as one of the many extreme challenges already made. There were 5 of them in the car, all young in their 20s and from the Borderline group, YouTuber who entertained their followers with their challenges. And just one of those ended in tragedy yesterday at Casal Paloco's AXA hinterland of the ex-town hall. By the way, this is also translated into English, to keep that in mind. The group aboard a Urus Lamborghini, hired for 2 days, has overwhelmed a smart 4x4, I guess a smart car, with a mother and her 2 children on board. For Menio Proietti, 5 years old, there was nothing to do. The boy died during transportation to the hospital. The 3-year-old sister is in serious condition, a violent confrontation in a dramatic balance. The incident took place at 15.45 in Via Archeologo di Mileto at the crossroads with Via di Macchia Saprona yesterday afternoon. The dynamic is still under consideration, but the suspicions of the challenge on YouTube are strong. The staff of 118 intervened on the spot in addition to the Carabineria and the agents of the local police. So, the challenge on YouTube, according to a first reconstruction, that group of young people aboard the SUV may have been distracted by mobile phones or video cameras used to shoot a movie that would later go viral. In fact, some clips had already been shot and spread on Instagram and TikTok before being removed. Day 2, without getting out of the car. McDonald's today and Burger King tomorrow. Tomorrow I go out that I am this bull, says one of the boys. The one who in the movie can be seen behind the wheel, also taking the other friend instead of the passenger. According to the findings, law enforcement officers seized the young people's mobile phones aboard a Lamborghini to verify who was shooting the video at the time. Already acquired by investigators to confirm this hypothesis, 2 films appeared on the net in which one of the young people states, "Second day in the Lamborghini, for now all is well." The other video. In another video released about 5 hours before the terrible accident, one of the 2 members of the group of the Borderline ironically about the power and beauty of the Lamborghini, just that rental outlet even going so far as to mock the owners of the same car model with which they had the accident, cost Manny Peyote his life. A dramatic coincidence. Like, isn't that kind of like disturbingly sad? Like, they were talking about basically the beauty and the power of this Lamborghini and talking down about a smart car, the exact same style of smart car that they rammed into head on and killed a kid. Like, that's pretty sad. So the reconstruction. Manny Peyote's condition after the accident appeared immediately desperate. The boy, when the rescue arrived, was already in cardiac arrest. The health workers then practiced the heart massage, and after having revived it, they transported it to the Grassi Hospital in Ostia, a desperate race that, however, turned out to be in vain. The doctors of the emergency room could not help but, I guess, the cause of death. In the evening, his father went to the hospital for recognition of the body. In the accident, the 29-year-old mother and 3-year-old daughter were also injured. The 2 were transported in red code to the St. Eugenia Hospital. They are serious, but the danger of death seems averted. And again, repeating this is translated into English, so the wording's kind of like off. The means involved were seized, and the local police proceeded with the detections. As usual, the driver driving the Lamborghini SUV was subjected to the drug and alcohol test, the latter negative result. Now the investigators will have to ascertain who was really behind the wheel, at what speed the cars involved traveled, and if the conditions of the road surface, also in light of the heavy rains of the last few days, may have affected the dynamics of the accident. The dynamic will then clarify how the sudden and devastating impact occurred and the reason for the absence of braking signs. That's kind of interesting. Pain. I join in the pain of the little boy's family who lost his life in today's tragic accident in Casa Paloco. I hope that the mother and the little sister can recover soon, and that the police may ascertain as soon as possible the responsibilities of what has happened, wrote the mayor of Rome, Roberto Gualtieri, on Twitter. In the capital, the death toll of the road continues to grow day after day, denounces the president of the Kodokans, Carlo Renzi. To the 150 deaths recorded in 2022 are added the 73 deaths that occurred on the capital line roads from the beginning of the year to today, for a total of 223 deaths in the last 2 years. Dramatic data that show that not enough has been done in Rome on the road safety front. Yeah, so this is a pretty sad situation because there's probably like a lot of factors that are like involved in this situation, but it doesn't really look good when you got a bunch of cocky young adults renting a six-figure Lamborghini, putting down other people's cars, and doing a very dangerous challenge that involves other people that like puts risk of other people, puts everyone else at risk because like again it's the mental fatigue. You don't necessarily have to be the one driving to feel mental fatigue in a car ride for that long. Like it's just beyond dumb to do this for clicks, right? Like it gets to the point where like how much money is it worth it to you to potentially put other people at risk? Like this is just a very bad idea, a very dumb idea, and they only did this for attention and money. Like that's the only reason they did this. And because something bad happened, they're like, "Oh no, I feel so bad for the family." But the thing is, if nothing were to happen, they would have done something similar to it again for more views and more money. Because again, I'm talking about like this channel has probably cleared multiple millions of dollars in combined income from YouTube ad revenue and sponsorships. So just think of it. If you got a couple of young guys who are making potentially millions of dollars a year, would you stop doing whatever it is that you're doing if you're making that type of money? A lot of people won't. So it's just sad. It's sad because now there's a 5-year old kid that can't live out their life. Let's see. Anything else in the Reddit posts? No. Let's see. I would also talk about how dangerous SUVs are. Airbags and seatbelts are useless if a car that is 4 times mine comes upon me. Maybe with the Smart it's a borderline case, but I think it's worth with any subcompact. As others have observed, how did a 20-year-old boy drive a Lamborghini? Someone will get into bad trouble for all this, and with good reason. They were able to get a Lamborghini by renting it because they made really good money and they could just blow like 5K on a rent of a Lamborghini. Oh, interesting. So this person says, a few months ago I applied as an editor for them. They didn't call me back, answer, so I have nothing spicy. But I remember well that looking at their content to apply, I had found them rather empty. Maybe even well done, but of very little substance. Then they would be tasteless, I guess. Hmm. The thing is, there's a good chance that like these 20-year-olds are probably going to serve decades in prison because of this. Let's see. Yeah, considering the THC positive test and flattening it around is a decerebrate stuff, the journalistic implication is that he had made a rod while driving. Anyone with a shred of knowledge about it knows that it is positive even after a month that you made one. That person says, like, how did they rent a Lamborghini at that age? Again, they probably pulled in multiple millions of dollars, so spending like 5K, 10K on a Lamborghini rental isn't that big of a deal. See, so four of them replied a little while ago, saying all that restrictions on driving higher vehicles lapses after 1 year from obtaining a license. If the guy had taken her at 18, that's why. Interesting. So the dynamics are not known, but from what we read, it is possible that these had been at least 30 hours driving the SUV. So assuming also the extreme opposite case of accident within reason, 30 hours of whatever in the car inevitably bring tiredness, lack of reflexes, and attention. And since the 50-hour goal in the car was set for them for futile reasons, in my opinion, this could be enough to go the wrong way. Yep. That morn who drove was done. Yeah, so a lot of people are just commenting on like how can they afford to rent a Lamborghini at 20 years old. The trick is money and a company to rent with. In this road, if you pay, you can do everything, including, unfortunately, doing these idiocies. Like, that's the thing, right? Like, a lot of these challenges are pretty crazy and, like, out there. But if you got money, you can pretty much do whatever you want for these challenges, right? It's like, oh, you want to survive 24 hours on, like, a boat in the sea? You could do that if you got the money. Oh, you want to, I don't know, like, sleep in an RV for, like, a month? You could do that. Oh, you want to survive in a tent in like a deserted island? You could do that if you got the money, right? Hmm. Yeah, so a lot of this is just basically complaining about their age, how they can afford it as well at that age, blah, blah, blah. I just think it's a sad thing because they did something extremely risky for money, basically, and attention, and it ended the life of a kid for not not a good reason, like at all. Like this is a horrible situation.